Welcome to an in-depth look at the world of Bill Gates, a genius of technology who has taken spending to a whole new dimension, really. Where most of us would be deciding between having a morning coffee or saving a few bucks, he is actually choosing between a $650 million yacht or an island in the Caribbean. With a bank account as large as his imagination, Bill's life is filled with surprises. Some are inspiring, others just downright jaw-dropping. So buckle up as we explore fascinating, sometimes outrageous ways he spends his fortune, from turning poop into water to a mansion that can change its mood like a chameleon. This is one ride you don't want to miss. It is rather well documented that Bill Gates enjoys two things: copious amounts of money and revolutionary philanthropy. But his spending habits are interestingly as varied. Take, for example, his $650 million yacht that has its very own waterfall. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. Gates also owns an extremely rare book worth a whopping $130 million, a futuristic mansion priced at $65 million, and so much more. Let's take a closer look at the lavish and even sometimes surprising ways this tech billionaire spends his money, starting with his very own private island. To one-up his buddy Jeffrey, Gates bought up one of the largest private islands in the Caribbean. But unlike some infamous islands, this one is free from creepy mansions. For now, there's just a quaint little hut and some of the world's best scuba diving spots. The price tag? A cool $25 million. For a guy worth $150 billion, that's practically pocket change. But Gates wasn't done there. He invested 100 times that in one very special project, building a machine that converts human waste into clean drinking water. On a trip to Africa, the devastating impact of unsafe drinking water hit home for Gates. Rather than digging wells like YouTuber MrBeast, Gates went high-tech. He provided the funds to develop a machine that uses human waste and then turns it into safe drinking water. In fact, he tasted a sip himself to show that it was harmless and would not harm anyone who drank it. Indeed, this latest technology development had cost him $200 million. Again, although this invention is quite advanced, each unit is still priced at around $2 million, which would be very hard for an average village to afford. Back from his African trip, Gates jumped onto one of his 5 private jets and went to his gaudy mansion in the United States, encountering an enviable problem at hand. In which supercar would he go for a spin? He could have chosen one of his affordable options, a Jaguar perhaps, Tesla, or Mercedes. But it was a special day, and for that occasion, he wanted something really one of a kind, a Porsche 959, so rare even banned in the United States. Gates bought this Porsche in Europe in 1986, with full knowledge that it couldn't be legally driven in the US. He tried to import it, but American authorities had none of it. It took 13 years for the authorities to finally return the car to Gates. After all that hassle, the final price for the car was approximately $200,000. But since it's still illegal to drive on US roads, he mainly uses it on his private island. Being a very rich person, he also owns a more normal car, a $100,000 Porsche 911, which can be driven on the mainland. And that's not all. He has several high-end cars. One is the Ferrari 348, which happened to be the last model designed by Enzo Ferrari himself. The history of this car ran Gates $100,000. Then, he outdid that with the Rolls-Royce Ghost, costing $388,000 a car, so lavish that its owner really should sit in the back and leave the driving to chauffeurs. All told, Gates' collection of cars is a modest $1.2 million. But the amount Gates has spent on cars is chump change compared to his art collection. He once spent $36 million on a painting of a man lost at sea to set the record for the most expensive piece of art ever sold in the US. His entire collection of art is valued at a whopping $124 million. So, why does he spend so much on art? Whoever knows. But when you are worth billions, a few million here and there on paintings probably doesn't hurt. It's not just art and cars. Gates also has an incredible collection of private jets. His most basic one is the $2.8 million Cessna 208 seaplane, basically used to reach his island or whatever other places with no runway. But Gates' true jet-setting began a decade after he became a billionaire, when he got tired of the cramped quarters of commercial flights and bought his first private jet, a Bombardier Challenger, for $27 million. And because one just wasn't enough, he bought a second Challenger too. As Gates got older, comfort started to take precedence, so he upgraded to two Gulfstream G 650 ERs, each priced at $78 million. These luxury jets have bedrooms to take naps mid-flight and take his private jet collection to well over $210 million. But these are just the jets we know about. Interestingly, Gates once spent more on a book than on a private jet. He purchased the Codex Leicester, a 500-year-old notebook written by Leonardo da Vinci, for $30 million. The book is an extraordinary one, revealing rare insights into da Vinci's thoughts. In fact, the book was written in reverse, backward in mirror image fashion. Consequently, it also makes for a very shrewd investment. The Codex is worth more than $130 million today. Speaking of real estate, he seems to have a soft spot for California, in which he has 3 properties. His most inexpensive is a $12.5 million home in a rather reclusive, exclusive community called the Vintage Club. To buy a house here, you already need to pay a $250,000 membership fee. The latest purchase by Gates is a $43 million oceanfront mansion in San Diego. He converted it into an amazing bachelor pad for hosting posh parties. The construction just finished this August 2023. While his San Diego mansion was being completed, it is reported that Gates had stayed in a neighboring mansion, which cost $18 million. He probably purchased this property for his daughter, an avid horse rider, because it came with a private horse track. This also wasn't the first time that he had purchased any real estate for his daughter. He purchased an entire street of mansions in Wellington, Florida for $27 million to create a practice horse jumping spot for his daughter. However, probably the most iconic Gates home would be his main house in Washington State. The ultra-modern mansion includes high-tech conveniences like a pin system that adjusts the lighting, temperature, and music to your preference as you move from room to room. Yes, the house includes walls of giant screens of artwork, an indoor pool with underwater music, and even a trampoline room. Outdoors, the estate features an artificial stream fully stocked with fish and a beach composed of sand brought in from the Caribbean. All of these high-tech and luxurious features put together make Xanadu 2.0 worth roughly $130 million, about the same price as his Da Vinci manuscript. But despite all this extravagance, Gates has made it loud and clear that he is not raising his kids as spoiled brats with his billions of dollars in fortune. You might figure that someone worth $150 billion would give his children a sizable inheritance, but Gates will give his kids just $10 million each. He describes leaving them billions as doing more harm than good, although they'll more than likely inherit his several properties and assets. Most of it goes to charity in the form of his foundation. On the other hand, however, Gates couldn't resist himself in buying a $650 million super yacht. The huge vessel is so big that Gates usually takes his $4.2 million helicopter just to reach the vessel. The yacht has an infinity pool with a waterfall, 4 decks with plush lounging areas, and a glass-enclosed top lounge with 360-degree views. The interior of the yacht features a spa, a hair salon, and a world-class gym, apart from 7 bedrooms with a master suite bigger than most people's homes. And in true Gates fashion, it's eco-friendly, running on hydrogen fuel cells. While word on the street says that Gates owns this yacht, he has never publicly confirmed it. But to be honest, he probably wouldn't admit to such an outrageous purchase anyway. One of Gates's more controversial investments has been his mass purchase of farmland across the United States. He now owns 270,000 acres, making him the largest private farmland owner in the country. This enormous investment of close to $1 billion appears to be a surprise to many, as Gates has urged the transition to synthetic beef as a climate change solution. Still, his purchased land accounts for less than 1% of total United States farmland. However, the action has challenged questions about his intent. It's only one aspect of his life that may cause more outrage than his fortune: his relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. In 2011, it was revealed that Gates had several meetings with Epstein, and his name was even on flight logs to Epstein's notorious private island. When these meetings were exposed in 2019, the result was very strong scrutiny and claims that he too may have engaged in some of Epstein's criminal activity. This, along with rumors of having an affair with a Microsoft employee, eventually drove his wife Melinda to divorce him. She walked away with $76 billion in the settlement, from the development of methods for turning human waste into water to amassing a collection of private jets and rare books. His life is a complex tapestry populated by an underlying sense of philanthropy, innovation, controversy, and opulence that makes his spending illustrate a man who is endlessly curious at times, eccentric often, and paradoxical. Whether in the futuristic machine he is investing in or the whole street he bought for one of his daughter's hobbies, Bill Gates continually surprises and intrigues the world with how he utilizes his vast fortune. There you have a look into the fabulous, astonishing, and sometimes perplexing world of Bill Gates. From sipping recycled water in Africa to cruising in a car forbidden in the US, he's not just building wealth, but also redefining how to use it. Whether he's splurging on a $130 million book or turning his home into a sci-fi dream house, the evidence is that even with billions, it's not just about the money. It's about making a statement. Love him or hate him, you can't deny one thing: Bill Gates knows how to keep life interesting. If you have a few billion lying around, then maybe you have some ideas too. Meanwhile, let's just enjoy the ride.